Okay, the first committee I want to talk about is the Word and Prayer Committee. So going through your list there, you're going to select and train the lectors. And what I'd really like to do this year is come up with a set team of lectors. So maybe, oh, I don't know, 5 or 6 students, representative of all the classes, who we put together, obviously not before the first Mass, but at some point put together a training program for them. And then they will be our go-to people for all of the Masses, and prayer services. We'll rotate through them, rather than picking up just, whoever we can find at some point. Now, obviously that does not preclude discovering somebody new and adding them to the rotation later in the year, but that's our long-term goal. You will make copies of the readings and distribute those to the lectors, although you could, now that we've got the iPads, instead of putting it on paper, you could get the website and send that to them via email. Make appointments with the lectors to do a Lectio Divina with them. Now, Lectio Divina is a prayerful reading of the readings. I would recommend finding a time that you and the lector can get together, a free period after school, before school, meet in campus ministry or in the chapel, someplace like that. You could Skype your meeting too. I'd be okay with that, or FaceTime or whatever it is you do. But the idea is that you, one of you will read the reading out loud, and then you'll each talk about the question, what word or phrase caught your attention in this reading today. Then read it a second time and talk about how that reading connects with your life experience. And then have them read it a third time, and this time reading it really critically to make sure that they're expressing the phrasing and the meaning and bringing out the right parts of that reading. You will also write the prayers of the faithful. You need to include, the last prayer is always for those who have died since we last worshiped together, especially, and then there's going to be a list of names. You're going to get that list of names from Mrs. Rose, so it's probably good early this week to introduce yourself to Mrs. Rose and say, I'm the person who's going to be coming for those names. Once you have the prayers of the faithful, and she sometimes won't give you the list until the morning of, so that's going to be a little bit tricky, in terms of timing and making sure it gets there, but that's something that you're going to take on. But the rest of the prayers of the faithful, you'll email the rough draft to me. I'll send back some corrections. Then you'll email the final draft to me. And then you're going to make 2 copies of the final draft. One to give to the lector to practice, although that doesn't have to be an actual copy. That could be an emailing it to the lector. And then one definite copy that we'll put in the binder for Mass. Then you can ask the lector to make an arrangement with Mrs. Walsh to practice the pronunciation of the names of those who have died. Then you will also be in charge of meeting the presider and sharing any special plans for Mass. That will be Father Dawson most of the time. And then that's probably going to be done during C period, as Mass will now be, well, no, it could be done during D period. Mass is now going to be after D, if you can make that correction on your sheet. All right. I would say your committee today, the best way for you to start would be to go over the readings for next Monday and do a little Lectio Divina with each other so that you're very familiar with what the readings are for the day, and read the section of the How-To Book of the Mass that explains the prayers of the faithful. Look at the sample prayers of the faithful that I will send to you, and why don't you start writing those prayers? Okay. One of the prayers of the faithful is always for whoever it is we're doing the collection for, and so we are doing the collection for the Haitian Health Foundation and the people of Haiti. They could be part of it. Also, please be aware of current events, particularly the refugees crisis in Europe, and if you wanted to Google that and get a little more background on that, that would be something else. And then you could come up with any issues that are happening in our country right now as well. All right, thanks.